Really excited to have you here today. Can you tell me your name and a little bit about your background?
Yeah, my name is Thomas DeLauer, and my background actually was in, believe it or not, the healthcare world. My background, even though it's not what you would see today on the internet, it's not what you would see when you watch my videos, but my background was a physician recruiter and actually had an ancillary lab services company. So a lot of what we did was provide lab services to fee-for-service doctors that were providing services on a concierge basis to patients that were paying cash and not working with the insurance system. So that's how I got my start in the world of healthcare and alternative medicine, alternative really diet, if that's what you want to call it.
So your personal journey, so you did this work and then what happened?
Yeah, so I went through my own transformation. So while I was in that generation where I was busy working a lot, I was overweight myself. I was about 280 pounds. And through time, I lost about 100 pounds over the course of a couple of years.
Wow. So you were 100 pounds overweight, and then you were on the front of men's fitness magazines. How did this happen?
Yeah, it was an interesting ride, and being able to, really set a goal for myself of saying, okay, once this starts, once you start losing weight, you feel so good. You start really not wanting to change that at all. You've got so much momentum, especially with a ketogenic diet. It's like one foot in front of the other. You're just losing weight. You're feeling amazing. You're gaining this cognitive function that you didn't have before. Suddenly different things become illuminated in your life. Like, wait, I can accomplish this. Wait, maybe I want to go after this too. It'd be kind of cool to shoot a magazine cover. Let me just aim for that too.
Wow.
And everything just becomes so clear, so crystal. And I really attribute that to just having that cognitive function that comes with keto, because you're so foggy when you're not in ketosis and you don't even realize it. So being able to not only lose a ton of weight, but have the clear focus and the discipline to really go after some of the things that I've wanted to do since I was 12 years old.
That's incredible. What was the moment, I'm so curious, when you were 280 pounds, was there a moment where you just decided, I want to lose weight? And did you come to the idea that, okay, I want to lose 100 pounds? How did you sort of get to that place?
Yeah, the interesting thing is I was always an athlete. So even when I was overweight, I was still weight training a lot. And I think I just led myself to believe that I was just kind of on this endless bulk, where it's like, oh, it's fine, I'm working out. No, it's just muscle. And then, it was one day look in the mirror and say, this isn't muscle. Who am I joking? And it's, so it was at that point, looking in the mirror saying, okay, if I want to be able to perform at my best in business, in life, but also with my own athletics and my own fitness, something needs to change. And when I first started losing a little bit of weight and understanding that, wow, I feel so much better. And I realized it wasn't because I was just getting healthier, but it's because I was harnessing the discipline of a diet that directly translated into the discipline of business and the discipline of everything else in my life. So it was really understanding that if I can just be clear on what I'm doing with my diet, I can start being clear on every other aspect of my life. And it was just sort of a positive spiral from there on out. I look at it with 4 pillars of life that you really should be focusing on if you want ultimate success. And you're going to have your health and fitness, you're going to have your family, you're going to have your spirituality/religion, and then of course you're going to have your business, because that is a part of your success and it is part of what defines you. And we can't joke and say that it's not, because money drives so much of this world, and if you don't hold yourself to a certain standard, you're not going to feel good about yourself. But it's when one of those pillars becomes too strong or too weak, the whole foundation crumbles. So I'm not saying that health and fitness was the end-all be-all for me. It was just a piece that had sort of crumbled a little bit while other things were starting to raise up. So when I say find balance at a higher level, it was all about, well, how can I take my health and fitness, build it back up so that it's stable with everything else in my life? But little did I know that understanding ketosis didn't just rebuild my health pillar. It actually heightened all the pillars just because of the cognitive awareness and everything that you're able to develop through it.
What do you develop personally through embracing a ketogenic lifestyle that you noticed probably the fastest? What were the things you noticed?
Well, to really make it simple, you have a lot more clarity. And it's just because normally when you go on a diet, you have so many variables coming at you. The thing I liked the most about the ketogenic diet was it freed up so much of my headspace to think about other things in life, because it really is so simple. It's, you're eliminating a major variable, being sugar and carbohydrates. And just doing that, it doesn't occupy a lot of headspace. Normally when you're dieting, you're thinking about, how do I eat these 6 meals? Or I have to eat every 2 hours. Or,
right.
Oh, I need to have this portion of this and this and this. Ketosis was so simple. It made it so that I had the mind share, I had the space to be able to think about my family, to think about business. So despite all of the other physiological and cognitive benefits that happen with ketosis, I would say the simplest was just the fact that it opened up my lifestyle to something that was really achievable.
can you share with us why ketosis is simple?
Yeah. I mean, when we look at it, we have three variables that are always moving around with our diets. And if you talk to any diet coach out there, or any person that's on the internet, they're all going to tell you it's a perfectly balanced ratio of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Now, you and I both know there's a lot that goes into that, and it's more than just those three things. But when we're looking at ketosis, carbohydrates are essentially eliminated. So when we look at the big picture of it, we're really dealing with two variables, not three anymore. And what I mean by variables is if we're trying to juggle how many grams of protein we need to have, how many grams of fat we need to have, combined with how many grams of carbs we need to have at a specific point in time, pre-workout windows, post-workout windows, don't eat carbs before bed, don't eat this with breakfast. That's mind-boggling. What if we were just able to say, if you just had proteins and fats and that was it, and you could eat those at any point in time throughout the course of the day? I mean, look how much easier that is. I mean, I'm not super good at math, but I could tell you that if we have 3 different macronutrients, there's a lot more different combinations of macronutrient ratios that we could have than if we were just eating proteins and fats, right?
Removing that amount of weight of fat from your body over the course of a couple of years and all of the toxins that are part of that fat, and doing it by really focusing on, these 2 macronutrients, I can't imagine how incredibly difficult that would be, but it sounds like it really hasn't been that difficult for you.
No, when it comes down to it, it was really a matter of just putting my mind to it, and again, eliminating that one variable. It's a straight shot. It's a step over step with each time that you are really thriving in ketosis, each day that you're feeling good and you're having that mental burst, you feel better and better each day. So it's not like it's hard to lose momentum.
Right.
I mean, your momentum's building, and as long as you're moving in the right direction, there's nothing that's going to set you back. The nice thing with ketosis, again, I mean, the weight loss can be accelerated so much because once you get your body truly burning body fat versus just, burning just a little bit of fatty acids now and then, it just steamrolls and the weight just comes off because that's the fuel source for your body. And again, you're getting your body utilizing fats and proteins. And if you have a predominant source of fat on your body, that's going to become the fuel source.
So as an athlete, how do you look at the ketogenic diet and maintaining muscle and really focusing on being able to be an athlete? How does that relate for you?
Yeah, you bring up actually a good point because one thing that I deal with on the internet a lot is a lot of people saying that ketosis is not good for the athlete. And people will say that day in and day out, and it's okay because most of the time, what we're understanding, what we're hearing out there is that we need carbohydrates for fuel, and it's been kind of ingrained in our system. It's ingrained in our brain that carbohydrates are what do it. But the fact is that there are so many different things that happen in your body when you're in ketosis. The simplest way that I can explain it, Naomi, is when you have carbohydrates contain 4 calories per gram. Fats contain 9. Well, if you really think about it, if you've switched your body over from utilizing something that has 4 calories per gram over to something that has 9 calories per gram, that's a lot more energy density. So you're dealing with something that has much more energy per gram. So therefore, once your body is truly utilizing those fats, it's very, very energizing. You have a lot of energy for working out. You have a lot of fuel. And I think that people that feel that ketosis doesn't give you that athletic burst, they're usually people that haven't gone deep into ketosis and truly understand the benefits of burning fat as a source of fuel.
What do you say to people who want to do ketosis, but maybe they don't want to eat meat and cheese the whole time?
No, you bring up another really good point because that's probably one of the biggest gripes that I have with people understanding ketosis right now is they seem to think that it's all about eating meat and cheese. And that's just the thing is the true ketogenic diet should be more like a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 ratio of fats to protein. That's not a ton of protein.
Yeah.
You don't need to be eating copious amounts of protein. All that's going to do is mess up your kidneys, and you don't need to be consuming that much. So it's really a matter of getting more of the fats in, which you can get through perfectly healthy plant sources: avocado oil, macadamia nut oil, olive oil, coconut oil, palm oil, all these things that are great and awesome and plant-based. And then you can have small amounts of protein. You don't need to be eating the greasy burgers all the time. You don't need to go and get 2 ribeye steaks. Sure, you can do that from time to time with ketosis. That's kind of the benefit, but you don't need to be loading up with cheese and doing that. That's the wrong way to do ketosis. That's more like a modified Atkins diet, which has sort of taken the world by storm as a form of ketosis, but it's more of a modified Atkins, which is quite a bit different.
Talk about inflammation. Can you tell me a little bit more?
Yeah, so inflammation, the simplest way to break it down If you've ever bumped your elbow, you bumped your knee, or you've gotten a cut or a scrape, you know how it gets all swollen and red? Well, that's known as acute inflammation. That's a form of inflammation, but it's happening very fast and it's happening in response to an injury. Well, we actually have what's called chronic inflammation that's occurring cellularly throughout our entire bodies. And it's usually in response to some kind of either trauma or something that we really shouldn't be putting in our bodies. And the problem with today's food, Naomi, is that so much of the food we shouldn't be consuming. There's so many additives, there's so many things. Sugar, glucose is inflammatory in and of itself, and it's triggering our cells to have this massive influx of inflammation. And it's making it so that our body's immune systems are having to focus on fighting the cut or scrape inside our bodies versus being able to help us become healthier. So our immune systems are suppressed, we're immunosuppressed. Our bodies are always in this constant state of fighting a disease in our body that we may or may not know exists. And if we walk around feeling really lethargic all the time and feeling foggy and feeling tired, there's a very good chance that inflammation is at the root of that. And we don't even know it because we are seemingly healthy otherwise. We just have this little micro infection or these little things going on inside our body. And ketosis is so big when it comes down to modulating inflammation in the first place. That's one of the main reasons that my wife is on it, one of the main reasons that I'm on it today.
So tell me about fasting and what is your relationship to fasting and what do you think is the best way to do it?
Definitely. So it's a perfect transition. What a lot of people don't realize is that ketosis and fasting are almost the same thing. Fasting, obviously the big difference being that you're fasting, you're not eating, but the mechanism of action within the body is actually very similar. I don't know if you knew this, but the ketogenic diet was discovered as a way to emulate or mimic fasting.
Yes.
So it's, if we go back to the 1920s, we saw that doctors were struggling trying to find what this amazing thing that was happening in the body was when people would fast. We're finding lower instances of epilepsy. We were having neurodegenerative diseases that were correcting themselves through fasting. And these doctors were saying, well, okay, this is amazing, but what's going on in the body? Well, ultimately they find out that the common denominator is ketones are produced. And we produce ketones when we're obviously in ketosis, but we also produce ketones when we're fasting in an even more accelerated rate. So fasting, for so many different reasons, is such a huge, huge, huge tool for just about anyone to use as a way to get healthy. Not just lose weight, but to get healthy. And you use it as a value add. You use it not necessarily as a way of life, but as something that you insert into the process of whatever diet you're doing, whether it's ketogenic or not, to use as a tool to be able to help your body accelerate whatever good process you're trying to get it to do.
So how do you fast and when do you fast?
Yeah, so I take the word intermittent fasting to a different level. When people say intermittent fasting, they think that that means intermittent periods throughout the day that you're fasting. I look at that totally different. I look at intermittent fasting as fasting intermittently throughout the week or throughout the month. Fasting should be used intermittently. So me, for example, I'll fast 2 times per week, usually about a 24-hour fast because I'm a believer in a longer-term fast. And then once a month or once every couple of months, I'll extend it to about a 30 to a 36-hour fast where I just will try to extend it as long as I can. I don't push it really, really long just because I don't have much of a need to or desire to right now. One thing that I've been interested in doing after diving into so much more research is to do more of a 48 to possibly even a 72-hour fast just to experience it a little bit more. But I use fasting a couple days per week just as a tool to enhance the effects of the ketogenic diet that I'm already on.
And when you're fasting, what are you doing during that time? Are you drinking water or tell us a little bit more?
It depends who you talk to. And some people will say this there's different sides of this coin for sure. But really the best way to fast is just consuming water. I mean, that's a true fast. And some will even say that that's breaking a fast because it still elicits a metabolic response within the body. But I'm a believer that keep the water in the picture. If someone's just starting out, and like when I was just starting out with fasting, black coffee and green tea were okay. They technically can break a fast from a metabolic standpoint, but as far as body composition goes and at least thermodynamics and helping the body utilize fats for a source of fuel, they don't generally disrupt that process. But when you're talking about like the autophagy processes in the body and everything like that, trying to get the cells to actually regenerate and heal, you're really going to want to stick to just water. But it's so much easier than you think, especially once those ketones kick in, once you're past the first 12, 14 hours of a fast, that's when the magic starts to happen. It's so easy. It's almost like you don't want to eat after that.
So it's incredible to listen to you, and you've just shared so much information. I can't thank you enough.
Awesome. No, it's been amazing to be here, and any chance that I get to spread the word of ketosis, spread the word of fasting, and help debunk some of the mainstream stuff out there and help people realize that sugar has been the problem, not fats. then it's a good day for me.
Awesome. Thank you.